Hi, I'm Moonrain and welcome to my channel. As we move into autumn, which officially starts this Monday, September 22nd, I thought it would be a good time to do a seasonal tarot spread. This is a 10-card pyramid layout designed to help you check in with where you are, what you're releasing, where to focus as the energy shifts into a new season. I'll be walking through each card position and sharing a sample draw along the way. So if you want to just watch and take in the collective message, you're more than welcome to do that. Or you can try this spread for yourself and see what comes up. We'll be reading both the rows as well as the columns for added depth. So grab your deck, tarot or oracle will do, and if you like to follow along, or just get cozy and take what resonates. All right, let's get started. For the sample reading or collective reading, I'll be using the Green Witches Oracle deck by Erin Murphy Hiscock and illustrated by Sarah Richard. I haven't gotten a chance to work with this deck. Oh, go backwards here. As much as I would like to. I just recently got gifted this deck. Let's see here. I will flip to our spread here so we know exactly what row and column represents what. I'll start shuffling. Hopefully I'll be able to fit all of the cards in because this is a pretty big deck here. It's a little hard to shuffle. So the very first card here we're going to have is the theme of the season for us. The energy, kind of the energy audit, what needs to be embraced, what needs to be let go, and what we're asked for realignment here for the third row. And then the very bottom row will be the foundation and movement, as well as advice. All right, so let's start with the theme here. The theme here is leaves, renewal, revival, and progress. So you can see here we have a cycle or a circle. So this circle represents a cycle that we're entering. We have here the dragonfly, which tells us that this is a stage of transformation, as well as the leaves also gives us a sense of transformation here. So from what I'm gathering, this season we're entering a phase or a cycle where we're going to start some sort of change or transformation, some sense of renewal. So we'll put that up here. And now let's talk about energy. So the energy to embrace here we have is altar. So here we're talking about connection, right? So either we're connecting with our higher selves, our spirit guides, with the universe, or even nature. And the reason why it's asking us to do that is in order for us to release burdens, as we have here in the keywords. So in order to connect with our higher selves, it looks like we have to express gratitude. So we have here an expression of gratitude will lead to the connection to our higher selves or others, and this will help us release some burdens that we might be carrying. And I feel like if we are not able to release these burdens, it'll be a little bit harder to move into this new cycle for this season. Now let's go on to the third position, which is what we need to let go. And here we have the word trunk. So here we have keywords as stability, loyalty, and reliability. So it looks like you might have a very regimented type of schedule, and it's asking you to kind of shake things up, kind of get out of that old routine. But most importantly, this also shows me, while we see that owl inside, that maybe you're kind of like the rock or the stability for your close ones, your loved ones, your friends. And because you are that rock, because you're that stability, I feel like maybe there's opportunities out there that you don't necessarily take because you want to always be there for others. So this is a time that we need to not be so much of as dependable as we are, and maybe just kind of move forward and pivot and perhaps take those risks, and hopefully that'll lead us to something, you know, different and new and positive. So that's what we have here for trunk. So it's a matter of connecting to our higher selves, making sure we express gratitude in order to connect, and releasing those burdens, and not being so reliable for others, and kind of living our own lives. Because sometimes when we become that dependable, we're not necessarily allowing for those opportunities to live fully. All right, so now let's move on to the fourth position here, and this is what do we need to invite in. And we have the walking staff, which the keywords are support and encouragement. As you can see here, we have a tree right up on the hill. So this tells me that we might have gone through obstacles, as the hill or mountain or precipice here shows that we're kind of climbing up through something that is hard, it's arduous. And we're doing this all alone, as you could see that tree by itself. However, at the beginning of the journey, because if you could see here, you have that little path, we had support and we left it, right? So, and we have this pile of rocks here that is supporting the staff, which reinforces the fact that we did have support here. And we're not necessarily facing it, as you can see the trees kind of looking outwardly to the left as opposed to the right side. So this shows me what we need to invite in is support at this time, because we do have it. It's probably something that we're not necessarily seeing, but it's right there. It's kind of like the Five of Cups, if I'm not mistaken, kind of energy here. Now the purpose of all of this is, okay, we've got the word summer, expansion, and growth. So this shows me, because it's right here under this line here, the purpose of all of this is to expand and grow and transform, right? So that sense of transformation comes from that dragonfly and from the leaves that are changing from green to more of an orangey color here in autumn. So it looks like we might be the support system of others, but this is a time to ask for support. This is a time for us to grow and use others for help. Now let's move on to where am I giving too much? All right, we have the word spring, rebuilding, awakening, rebirth. Again, I get that sense of support, as you can see the nest, and it's softly cradling the eggs as well as the flowers here, adding protection to these eggs here. And notice how we have like water going into the to the flowers here from the clouds. So this shows me that ecosystem, right? Every little thing connects to others, and we're seeing that sense of how each player takes a part of that ecosystem and how it helps and supports others. So this shows me here that we shouldn't be the only ones there to support others, that we also need to rely. And it goes back to this card here where we're seeing that we've walked away from support, and right now this is the time for us to ask for it, as we've been the ones who've been supporting others. Now let's look at our foundation, the first being the past. All right, we've got fog, obscurity, feeling lost. Now notice how we have one tree here on the left hand side versus the other trees here. So this is where we're feeling that disconnect. Again, this goes back to this card here where we see that lonely tree here and that lonely tree here. It's funny that it's on that same column, and we'll be interpreting each column once we're done doing the rows here. But that's really important here, where it's showing that in the past we might have felt lonely and we had to be self-sufficient, and we don't have a good way of expressing the need for help or support. And this card is asking us to let go of that, as well as this card here where we're being asked to ask for support and help. Now this card here is more about the present, and this card says roots, healthy patterns, and early growth. Notice how we have two skulls here and the branches are connecting kind of near where the mouth is here. So this tells me this might be more about interpersonal relationships, specifically communication, as the branches are coming out from the mouth and it's creating a root system. So at present, it looks like we're trying to improve our interpersonal relationships, whether it's romantic, familial, or even work-related. It shows that these are healthy communication. So it's just starting though. This something that we're kind of at the precipice and we're working on towards this coming season. So we're kind of setting those roots here where we're trying to make positive changes in our relationships. And I think because of the fact that it's right under, this gives us a specific indication that this new cycle, this renewal, this sense of transformation of growth is in our interpersonal relationships, where we're creating healthy communication, perhaps healthy boundaries. We're expressing ourselves, asking for support from others. Now let's move on to this would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The 9th card. This is about what's shifting. Since this was the past, the present, this is what's shifting moving forward. And we have the word hearth here, which refers to safety, comfort, and spiritual connection. Notice how this card is very similar to the altar card here that we have on top and the full picture here. So this shows me that what's going to be shifting this season is more of a connection with spirit, with our higher selves, with our spirit guides, or even lost past family members or loved ones who have passed. And this may be the support system that we might need in order to move forward and transform. All right, and the very last card here is our advice or seed of a season. And here we have the cup of tea, which is about patience and reassessment. So the advice here is patience, and that's absolutely true. When it comes to interpersonal relationships, because you can only do so much, and you have to make sure to wait and be patient with the other person to meet you halfway. Also, the fact that we have roots here, roots are not something that can grow very quickly or easily, especially this type of root system that we have here. So this is about taking the time and making sure that we're present during the journey and not looking at the end goal here. And it's going to take time for us to shake things up and get out of our typical and usual routine and ask for help. It's not easy to ask for help. So let's start moving on. This is what the pyramid looks like, but when we read the rows, we're going to shift things a little bit and talk about this first. I'll move these guys here so you guys get a better view of what I'm talking about. So the very first column here is what's being released. We have card number 2, 4, and 7. And as you can see here, we have that notion of feeling isolated, of not feeling supported. As you can see, the tree not looking towards the walking staff and the little pile of rocks. This is a time of letting go of doing things on our own and reaching out and asking for help and support from others. And the fact that we have the altar on top, it doesn't necessarily mean we have to look for help from friends, from our family members, from our loved ones, but possibly from our higher selves, from our spirit guides, from loved ones who have passed. So this may be a good time to meditate, to journal, to connect with our past loved ones. Now let's look at the next row, which we have is 1, 5, and 8, which talks about what we are becoming for this season. So here we have, make sure we've got the right number here. This is 8. And then this is 5 and 1. So what are we becoming? And we're going to go from foundation to the top core theme. So it's going to move up. So here we have the roots. We have, which is talking about healthy patterns leading to growth or expansion, which eventually will lead to transformation. So it looks like we're going to be growing in our relationships. It's going to look like we're going to create healthy patterns, which will lead to a transformation, not within just your relationships, but within yourself. This may mean that we're going to create healthy boundaries, healthy communication that would lead to just a better outlook in our relationships, as well as how we carry ourselves. Now moving on to number 9, 6, and 3. Is it better if I just cover these so we just kind of focus on the cards that we need to talk about? Let's see here. So this is the external influences, and the very first one that I feel like it specifically goes with the external influences is the card of spring, where we talk about rebuilding, awakening, and rebirth. I'm specifically not necessarily going by the keyword here, just because of how strong I'm being pulled by the illustration, where we have the clouds giving the water droplets to the plants, and the plants that are protecting the eggs, and it's the nest cradling the eggs. This shows to me that sense of interconnectedness, the sense of community, and the fact that it's under that same row of support, right, with the walking staff. This shows that need that we do have that support system. We do have others who care for us, and perhaps we're just not necessarily seeing it, and we're trying to be self-sufficient, but it's actually hurting us. Having that root system here and showing that it takes two to create this, right? This root system, this healthy pattern, is really important for our growth, as we have here with the bee, and this will lead for us to progress and move forward. All right, so much for turning them over because I'm doing it now. And then we have here, and in order for us to do this, we're going to have to kind of get out of our shell, right? We're going to have to shake things up. We're going to have to be the ones asking for help and not be the ones that are always reliable for others. Now, last but not least, we have here the hearth, and I did mention how this card and these cards that are flanking the edges is actually the very first card and almost the last card here, because we'll take this as the advice. But these cards are really emphasizing the need to create an altar, a sense of devotion, talking and connecting with our higher selves, our spirit guides, with past loved ones, and that this is a time that we might not be able to get support from people here in our vicinity, but in a liminal space perhaps. Now, last but not least, again, we want to emphasize here's our advice here, the sense of patience, that this takes time. It's not going to happen within a day, a week, or several weeks. This might take months, but hopefully this helps you guys if you were to read this as a collective reading. But ultimately, I just wanted to show you guys how this spread would work for the season of fall, and hopefully you guys use this in your own practice. And if you do, I would love to see it as a VR, or maybe just type down what you guys got. I would love to hear about it. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video, and hopefully I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care, guys.